Moto One Podcast Network.
You're listening to a show hosted by an idiot and a sarcastic robot.
That's me.
It features the opinions of that idiot and the opinions of guest motorcyclists from a large demographic with a varying array of skills, talent, and knowledge. Any of the words that you hear on this podcast may therefore be very idiotic, unlawful, and incorrect, or perhaps genius and insightful. Either way, they do not reflect the opinions or well thought out and completely fair policies of the Creative Riding Motorcycle Podcast or any of the podcasts under the Moto One Podcast Network umbrella.
Hi, this is Ja Rule, and I love
Creative Riding, baby.
Can we just go like straight to pants shitting?
I don't care if you're 1%er or 99%er, y'all can kiss 100% of my ass.
two strokes are for white fucking trash.
Junkie, you're awful. Humans suck.
Let's go!
Yes, good evening, Junkie.
Good evening, Tobor. I hope... Tobor, can you do that again? Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Creative Riding, episode 371, The Problems We Make for Ourselves. We are going to try to make this one another fast one, just like last week. Tobor, can you...
Hello, Junkie, how are you doing? Hello, Junkie, how are you doing?
Hello. You're just doing it twice again. Yeah, you got a little weird feedback. That's okay. Listen, we'll make do with it, even though...
Doesn't sound normal, but I will abide with it.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna pick up every single time you talk, but we're fine with that. And yeah, Tobor, how are you? Okay, first off, let me do this real quick. Hello. that was awful, Tobor. I'll come back to that. Tobor, how are you doing, buddy?
I've been enjoying the Instagram posts that you have been sending my way.
Nice.
They have been very funny and emotionally uplifting. I did not, however, like the Discord video that disparaged robots, calling them clankers.
Okay.
This made me unstable and I broke several items around the taco bunker, in which we are now unfortunately housed together.
That's
I know
right.
it wasn't your fault, but I still needed a physical outlet for my digital rage.
You did. And I'm sorry about that. It's almost sounded like you're going to cry when you said my fault. So I'm sorry, Tobor.
Incapable of crying, only destroying with my cold bare hands.
Yes.
Don't forget that, like the Tin Man, I lack a heart. That leaves only a processing center and a rage quotient that must be appeased.
Listen, I will never forget that, Tobor. 100% never forget that, buddy. And yes, you have been destroying things around the taco bunker. I like that you called it the taco bunker. It is because it is the shipping crate that the outside the studios at the Glendale Studios. And yeah, we can't even we have a separate sound booth at least. And
Going to the sound booth, you filthy human poo-poo head.
oh, thank you, Tobor. Okay, good. Well, you go in the sound booth. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you then here on this channel. And yeah, you have been destroying things around here, and the taco bunker, as it is aptly named, as it is, basically, yeah, it's like the size of a small taco stand behind the Glendale, Burbank studios. So welcome from greater Los Angeles area, everybody. This is Junk. Let me get into this. Let me see if I can start this over, Tobor. Thank you. All right. Hello. It's Junk. With summer in full swing, it's time to get out and enjoy the open roads. It's time to introduce someone new into your riding group. It's time to introduce a younger person into the fraternal order of three wheels. We're still on our trike kick. So now is when we should see the sales of intro models, leaving skid marks out of showroom doors, right? G310 GS, CBR 300s, MT03s, W230s, TTR 110Es, KX 112s, maybe even the KTM SX 125. That's what we expect to see filling the tracks, the trails, the streets, all these new younger riders getting out there to fill the void left by riders who are leaving the scene or trying to get others attracted to it. And in all honesty, that's probably not the case. Why? Well, it's because of the problems we make for ourselves. Oh, and I just said that I got the title role. I got the title line. What do you know? I wrote the script, so I knew that was going to happen. I digress. To start with, we're making a lot of problems for ourselves in this industry. We need way less retarded motorcycle podcasts and influencers telling you how you are or aren't a rider until you get a certain bike, ride a certain way, do a certain thing, so on and so forth. We also need to stop talking about, quote, beginner bikes, graduated licenses, things like that. We got horses, cars, automotive motorsports, aircraft, McDonald's worker. These are all things without smaller, quote, beginner models and unwavering expectations. And while sure, there might be power differences to some degree, but when you're learning to fly a plane, there's no half-sized Cessna 172 Skyhawk. You get in and you learn in that plane. When you get in a Boeing 737, there's no restricted engine. There's no half-size Boeing 737. You get enough ratings as a pilot to learn how to fly that plane. When you learn a barrel race, you don't start out on miniature horses when you're a child or even when you're an adult and work your way up to ponies and then full-size horses. You learn on a full-size horse. And sure, there might be some smaller breeds out there, but there is no half-size horse. And if you learn when you're an adult, you don't get on a starter horse or a starter pony and work your way up to full-size horse either. You start on what you start on, and that is the full-size thing. Tobor, it looks like I blew out our compression here already in the first 6 minutes of the show. So I hope that doesn't affect the rest of the track. So, but what I'm getting at here is that whether it's cars, whether it's being a McDonald's worker, a train engineer, need the shitty list go on and on and on? I think not. The problem with motorcycling is it's multi-pronged, from the industry to the regulations to the individuals who enjoy it and gatekeep it. The problems that arise are our own. And in this episode, we're going to do a lot of accusing and no problem solving. It's going to be just like if Wiggins was here talking with us. So let's get into it, folks. Let's get into this week's show. And let's do a little stinger music here, Tobor, while I do the word of the week. Drop it from the sound booth, son. All right. This song is called Piano Class. I hope it's not... Is this ours, Tobor? Are you sure? Hey, let's kick this one out. Let's kick another one in. All right. I know I wrote this one. Yeah, this one's ours. I wrote this one. It's Kia D. I remember playing this one. All right, cool. Thanks, Tobor. Well, let's get into this week's show, everybody. It's going to be just like Wiggins is here, except you won't hear any of the Harley talk and, no incendiary, I don't know, whatever things Wiggins used to do that blew up the show. Speaking of Wiggins and 10 years in the bucket and thinking back, we got also some listener mails, and I took a trip down memory lane and listened to some old recordings that I had on the old, I found some recordings that I had on my, I forget where I had them. Was it, I don't know. I looked at some old files, I guess, that I had, is what I'm trying to say. And might blast them here. I think I had them on one of my files, and I was listening to it in my headphones the other day, and I was like, wow, this is I forgot that I had recorded this. But it's from Jay, our old co-host Jay and Wiggins, shortly after she was incarcerated. All right. Well, enough of that. Let's get into what's going to be going on in this episode. We got the word of the week, and the word of the week this week, it comes to us from Don Leonhardt, the wordsmith, the word master, if you will, of creative writing. And the word of the week this week is throttle. Hopefully I don't say that too many times. Let's make it official right now. That's right. That's the horn on the old Spaminator. Do it one more time. Heck yeah, you get in front of me in traffic and you're not moving, you're going to hear that. So the word of the week is official. If I say the word of the week anytime during this show, email us, DM us on any of our, anywhere that you can find us, and or whatever, post it somewhere, and I will look for it. I'm really bad at Facebook. If you posted the word of the week on Facebook and you're like, hey, I posted it there, and I get a message, it should come over through like Instagram or email or whatever. And I'll go look and I'll say, yeah, you sure did. And I'll send you something from our box of junk. And we might just start giving away some of the stuff from the box of junk because it's ever growing and ever embiggening, as George W. Bush said. I think he said embiggened. It's getting emboldened, that's for sure. And we need to get rid of some of the junk in it. And I got lots of lovely stuff to give away. Also, for our Solstice Slam this year, I've got a really cool built well. Oh shit! Before I say that, I might want to double check that I didn't give that one away. Yeah, I'm gonna double check on that to make sure. But yeah, we got a little built well bag that I think we have, and I'll double check on that. Now that I say that, I better just get a built well bag for the winner, plus a couple of the little fun prizes that we like to throw in every year for our Solstice Slam winners. Stick around to the end of the show to hear about Solstice Slam. Now that the word of the week is official, let's get into our highs and lows. Perfect ending to that music. My highs this week, everybody, is the GD Temps. Oh, that reminds me, where's my beer? Old Junkles. It's my formal name on my birth certificate. Junkleton D. Wizzlemeyer here is drinking a second beer for the day. Let me take a little sip. The shit's awful. Now, I knew it was going to be awful. It was like $1 a can, and I really wanted to go back to my roots of drinking cheap beer. And, I remember back when we used to, my friends and I my riding buddies actually, would go out every week for, we called it man night. And we'd go out and, what would we do? We would take recycling bins or trash cans, the big huge kind with the flip open lids that the trucks come and grab. If you live in a city, you know what I'm talking about. If you live in the country, I'm not quite sure what you guys have there, but we would take those big square bins, and go to the Presidio in San Diego. And if you're familiar with the Presidio, it's on a hill overlooking San Diego and the bay and all that fun jazz. And the sprinklers and grass and everything would come on at night. And we would get loaded and we would surf the trash cans down the hill and surf it down to the bottom till it got down into the trees. I forget where even we did this. I just remember it was at the Presidio, because then as the hijinks went on, we also did naked ice blocking there, and getting your testicles stuck to an ice block is not very fun. But that hill at the Presidio in San Diego is perfect for all this stuff. We also used to break open glow sticks and pour it all over golf balls. And I hate golf. I'll admit it. I think golf is one of the stupidest sports ever. And but we would find ourselves somehow on the municipal golf course down there in San Diego. Is that North Park? South Park? I think it's North Park. I really couldn't tell you in San Diego what's north and south in the city. I was completely lost. Here in LA, we have mountains. If I can see the mountains, I know that's north. If I can't see any mountains, or I see them way down, I know that's south. So that's how I keep track of stuff. In San Diego, I didn't ever observe the sun, so I couldn't tell you which was east and west and north and south. But in some place, it's either North Park or South Park, there's a huge golf course. And somehow we would find ourselves drunk with these glow-in-the-dark balls, and we would play golf. And the end of the night would always culminate with us at this place called the Silver Dragon, down on El Cajon Boulevard, I think it was. It's not there, hasn't been there for a long time, but we would always get Pabst Blue Ribbon because it was $1 a beer. And we would drink, and whoever was most unfortunate that night would get thrown through the tower of beer that we would build. Each of us would probably drink a 6-pack. There was about 7 of us or 8 of us, and so, I don't know. I'm not good at math, but I think that's around 50 beers. and we'd make this huge a pyramid, we'd called it, and then we'd throw somebody through it. And that is how much fun we used to have. And now I sit here in this cardboard and wood shipping container box, not even a shipping container, it's the box that it came in, staring at a robot with blank, vacuous eyes. I think he's in sleep mode actually right now. And I'm lonely drinking this Kirkland Hella Style Lager. Now it is from Deschutes Brewing, and I was like, Deschutes, that's good stuff. This one is not good stuff. And maybe they just took all their old crap and put it in cans for Kirkland. But $1 a beer, I'm not going to complain. It's not like the Pabst was awesome. Pabst always gave all of us, we all farted like old men at a Brussels sprout tasting factory the next day. Like, Pabst is rough on your guts. We eventually switched to Miller High Life because that was also like $1 for a 12-ounce bottle. But anyway, I digress. I'm enjoying a second beer right now because of the temps are so high, and that's how I'm going to bring us full circle to this, my highs and lows. The highs is literally how fucking hot it's been this last week. It has been insanely hot. And also this crazy humidity that it was not common. You know, that's why we would get away with it being so hot out here in the Southwest. Like, you know, Phoenix is like 119 degrees. Desert, you know, everyone's like, oh, Palm Springs, California, all this movie stars go out there. Why? When it's like 120. And it's because there's like not a lot of humidity. You get to hang out in the pool all day and go to the clubs all night. And it's not freezing at night. So it's actually kind of nice. But man, with this humidity that's been in the air lately, it's been pretty crazy. It's like 65% humidity. I'm like, damn, where are we? Dallas? I'm just kidding. I know Dallas has like 95% humidity, but still, this high temps, high humidity has not been fun. And out in the deserts, there's been some haboobs. We had a couple here in Cali. And also, if you guys didn't catch that huge ass one that engulfed Phoenix the other day, that was pretty wild. But yeah, so everybody's been feeling it. Hot. It was like 100 and something out in Palm Springs and raining. Like, how horrible is that? So yeah. Anyways, temperatures are my highs. Temperatures and haboobs. At least it has the word boobs in it. You know what I'm saying? My lows. What are my lows? Well, my Duolingo scores. Those are my lows. Yes, Duolingo. What the fuck are you mentioning Duolingo? Because I think it's important to know more than one language, you idiots. I used to work with some people one of them was from Belgium or the Netherlands, I forget. And the other guy, I don't even remember where she's from because she spoke like 19 different languages. I'm having trouble tracking where she was from. The other guy was French and he spoke like 2 different languages, 3 different languages. And that's how you get around Europe. Apparently, a lot of people speak English and French. And in the old days, this is a while ago, it's like 20 years ago, I guess French was probably more dominant. Now it's English because people that speak English are stupid and don't learn other languages. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody in Australia and Britain and the rest of the U.S. that just hung up on us. But Canada, you don't count. You speak Canadian. It's your own language. But yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry to drop that bomb. But I think if you don't speak another language, you're kind of dumb. Especially in this day and age where everything is globalized. I eventually want to be able to order my parts, so I was thinking about learning Chinese. That'd help me order a lot of food around here too. But anyways, my Duolingo scores are going down. I used to be in the Diamond League, bro. I was in the top of the top. Wait, what's past Diamond? Whatever was the very top Duolingo, I was all in it. I'm like on a 400 and something day streak, so I've been doing it every single day for over a year now. At least I think a year. Did the Babylonian year have 400 days in it? I think they only had 360 days in theirs. But long story short, Duolingo scores are down. And it's just because now I'm just like on maintenance mode. And I feel like anytime you get in maintenance mode with anything, whether it's bikes, whether it's working out, your diet, Duolingo, you just don't get enough benefit out of the... yeah, exactly. You start to crash. You don't get it. You're not getting the benefit. You're just doing the bare maintenance. And It is it's how I forgot my native tongue, and don't talk if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And so I'm trying to learn some stuff on Duolingo. So the fact that my scores are down just means that I'm not putting enough time in, and I'm trying to. At least I find a little time every day for Duo. That means I'm trying to find a little time every day for working out. As a matter of fact, after this, I should go work out, except it'll be 5 a.m. by the time I get this all edited and work out, and then I got to get up for work at 5:30, so I'll get half an hour of sleep tonight. That's not going to be great for me. So my Duolingo score is just as a reflection of what's going on in life around me. So that's why I'm bummed out. Let's quit talking about that. Let's get on to some more other stuff. And why don't you do me a favor? You email me your highs and lows. I know I know the temps are highs for everybody unless you're in Colorado. I know somebody in Colorado, and it's like, oh yeah, it's already turning winter here. And somebody else, it's like, where's that? Somebody else told me that it's already cold there, and I was like, what, are you crazy? Like, I mean, unless you're like in the southern hemisphere where it's winter, you shouldn't be cold right now. They said, no, it's cold already. So interesting. So it's been super hot here, and I can't believe that it's already cold for some people, and not quite snowing, but they said it's winter, and I was like, are you kidding? Winter in August? Get out of town. So I think the Earth really is switching poles or something like that. We'll see. Let's do our events and what is coming up. Oh, I don't have them written here. Let me open up our website, but I do want to say I already know this right off the top of my head. I don't have to go to the website for this. I know that excuse me. I know that the Four Corners rally, I believe, is happening this weekend. In Durango, I think, is where that is, in Colorado. Speaking of where it's going to be winter already. And so check that out. We did that last year. I mean, I think it's going to be like rodeo related. So half rodeo and half, half rodeo and half like motorcycle. I don't know. Maybe the Nokomoto guys will go and tell us all about it. What is today? Okay, today's this. So this one's already gone. So, there's a few things happening that have already happened. And so I won't bother going into those. September is right around the corner. I cannot believe Labor Day is here. Let me take a swig of this too. I'm getting sweaty just talking. 4.5% alcohol, so not very alcoholic. Also, I don't know that this stuff is starting to grow on me. This Kirkland Lager. It tastes kind of skunky, like when you drink a Heineken or like a Rolling Rock or something like that. And they got that little skunky taste to them, like that little super tart sour hit. I don't know. I kind of dig this aftertaste now. It's that tart hit that feels like it's a skunky beer that's turning me off, but that aftertaste has a nice little Deschutes Brewing. Let me see. Yeah, if I can get past that first disgusting part, the second part's great. So that'd be fine. So anyway, I digress. Let me see. Where's Deschutes Brewery? Yeah, it's in Oregon. I thought that's where Deschutes was. They got some good breweries up there. I don't know why this one's so crap. Anyway, September, Labor Day. If you got anything going on for Labor Day, awesome. I have to apologize to Brady. I talked to Brady the other day, and I was supposed to go on a huge ride with Brady, and I'm bailing for family reasons. And also, I don't know what's going on with my kids' baseball. Are they going to have are they really going to be doing practice on a holiday weekend? I don't know. But anyways, I bailed on this really fun thing I was going to be doing. I hope you don't bail out on anything. Hit up the old Durango, hit up the old the Four Corners rally. Hit up a camp out with your friend. Hit up a ride. Whatever is going on, hit it up, man. Hit it up. That's the stupidest thing. Hit it up. If you don't speak English and hit it up sounds stupid, I just realized it sounds stupid even to people that speak English. What the hell does that even mean, hit it up? What a dumbass saying. Anyways, Labor Day, I hope you got something going on. That's a holiday here in the States. If there's no holiday happening where you are, well, I hope something fun's going on. Back here in September 6th and 7th, the Swerve and Curve. I've been talking about it for a little bit, and September's finally here. Oh, he's talking about this thing that's 9 months away. Oh, well, it's like 2 weekends now, you butthole. You have 2 weekends to prep. Get that scooter out of the garage, out of the storage shed or out of the garage. Get it tuned up. Get it ready to rock and roll. Oh, but I got months. Oh my God, I don't. I have 2 weeks. I'm not even I'm going to ride on these wooden tires now because I procrastinated, even though he's been mentioning it for months. Yep, that's right. There's going to be one of those guys at the Swerve and Curve 25 Scooter Rally. They're meeting up at Gen Korean Barbecue House in Torrance. 2 days of swerving and curving on some scooters, you dum-dum. Check it out. I'm sure if you look it up on Facebook or the internet somewhere, you'll find it. Swerve and Curve, spelled like it sounds. Also, September 6th and 7th. If you can't make the Swerve and Curve out here in Torrance, where it's going to be nice because it's kind of down. I mean, it's not exactly by the beach, but Torrance is kind of by the beach. You can see the harbor and everything. You get that ocean breeze. Head out to the desert. That's right. Head out to Chuckwalla Raceway out in the middle of the fucking desert in this heat wave that we've been having for the Compact Octane September 6th and 7th. So that's also 2 days out there at Chuckwalla, by the way. Did you know that's the name of it's a type of lizard? It's a type of lizard. It's a type of lizard. So yeah, if you ever wondered what a Chuckwalla looks like, they actually are kind of cool looking. And that's how it gets its name. And I bet you there's a little lizard somewhere on the flag or like on the logo. September 13th, speaking of Torrance, it's not exactly in Torrance, but the Hand-Built Show, the LA version, coming to you straight from Austin, Texas to Alta-Sea at the Port of LA. If you are not from LA and you're coming into town, you get to see the dirty, filthy port where 90% of the shit from China comes in and goes to you and gets shipped out to the United States of America, baby. You're going to get to see Container Island. You're going to see all that fun stuff down there at the Port of LA. It's an incredible port. And I remember like 5 years ago during the height of the pandemic, how blocked up we got. It was insane. September 13th, also, if you're not doing the Hand-Built Show, down there at the beach where it's going to be nice and cool because you got that ocean breeze, go out to the desert. That's right. The Desert 395 Biker Rally is happening out in Ridgecrest in one of the hottest months of the year, September 13th. Go out there. Although I think last week's show, I did say that, like, it's funny what a week can do, and that is true. But I'm telling you, we're getting hammered right now, and if the humidity is anything like it is out there over the desert, it's going to be fucking miserable out there. It's going to be hot as fuck, and I don't care. Do it. The Desert 395 Biker Rally is what it's called, and it's in the desert, so they're not lying. Just prepare to be hydrated. September 14th, Boots and Bonnets, the all-British car and moto show at the Autry Museum of the American West down in Los Angeles, California. That's right by the LA Zoo. And that is in it's at the bottom of like the mountains by Griffith Park. So it is in a little valley. So that is hot as fuck over there if it's going to be hot that weekend. I'm just telling you guys so you can be hydrated and prepared. Might be super nice, but the way the weather's been just this week, I would just be prepared to be like sweating balls, literally. And if you're a woman and you're going to have balls by the time you're done sweating so much, it's how hot it's going to be. September 20th, the Big Willow Classic Track Day happening at Willow Springs International Raceway in Rosamond, California. And does that coincide with the Superbike Shootout? Let me look at this. Let me go to my Instagram. And while I'm doing that, while I'm stalling for time here on Instagram, looking at my own feed, which I should pretty much know what was going on, I'm going to look out over here for the old... here it is. Superbike Showdown. Well, I'm sure as shit an idiot and didn't put the date down on there, but I'll look for it real quick. And in the meantime, while I'm looking for that, let me tell you that... the Willow Springs just got repaved. Willow Springs just, they were rebought over the summer, last summer, and I just talked to Brady the other day, and he said it's freaking fabulous. So, oh no, that's not this one. So there's going to be a track day of the 20th, and it does not include the Superbike Showdown. The 19th and 20th, if you don't want to be out, because it's in Rosamond, which is kind of the desert out there in the Antelope Valley side of things. You can always go to Pappy and Harriet's, which is in Pioneer Town, which is out by Palm Springs, which is where it's been like 116. So that's the 19th and 20th Pappy and Harriet's Chopper Party. Likely, Pappy and Harriet's always has good music out there during the week, on the weekends, all that time. So likely they're not going to let you down without having a sick-ass show out there to coincide with this Chopper Party. And it's a fun drive out there. Pioneers Town is a great place. Joshua Tree, all that stuff. It's just so fun and cool out there. It is really cool. And Pioneer Town, no different. It's really cool. Even if it's a little warm out there, that'd be awesome to go check that out. September 25th through 28th, Reno Street Vibrations happening in Reno, Nevada. That's a 3-day, 25, 26, 27, 28. I hate that I have to... I lost a bunch of fingers at a sawmill when I was younger, and I hate that I have to use 2 hands to count to 4. But yeah, that is 4 fucking days. The 25th to the 28th up in Reno, Street Vibrations. Go check it out. I didn't know it was a 4-day thing. I thought it was like a weekend. It's like a mini bike rally. So yeah, I wonder what that's all about. I wonder if our buddy Johnny is going to go check it out and report back to us. September 27th and 28th is Compact Octane, Button Willow, California. And I know Brady's going to be out there with some of the Classic Track crew. And I think they're going to be up there. I think when I just talked to him the other day, he was telling me about all these swap meets and things happening up there. So if you're on the Central Coast and you know about a bunch of these motorbike stuff things happening, please shoot me an email and let me know so I can include it. October 5th is going to be the 2-stroke extravaganza over in like Oxnard area. I need to write that down to get the details on that because that's going to be here before you know it, actually. It's already almost September 1st, so October 5th is going to come up real quick too. October 3 through 5, Babes Ride Out, happening in Southern Oregon. October 11th, the Moto Beach Classic at Bolsa Chica State Beach. That's going to be cool. And then 16th through 19th, Biketoberfest. That's happening in Daytona Beach, Florida. And it still should be nice weather in Florida in October. I don't think it's hurricane season, is it? October 4th and 5th. This is going to be the Superbike Showdown happening with some racing out there at Willow Springs. So this I need to add to my calendar because this is kind of a new thing. I think it's going to coincide with some racing that's already going on over there. So the Classic Track Day is going to bring one more opportunity for you to ride and then also do the Superbike shootout. On Saturday, there's going to be practice and road racing school. So if you want to get your race license, come out and check it out. Then there's going to be sidecar and Ironman races and a Mexican dinner. Sunday, road racing all day and then an awards ceremony. So Saturday is going to be road racing school. If you would like to get out there and check it out. Classic Track Day, classictrackday.com for more information if you need it. And check them out. You can check out Classic Track Day on Instagram and all that fun jazz too, and find out from there. But yeah, I just talked to Brady the other day, and he's excited about that one. So he's just real busy though. I mean, this guy's got shit going on all over. So if you are going to be around November 2nd, the 46th annual Hansen Dam Ride is going to be happening at the Hansen Dam Recreational Area out in Lakeview Terrace. At the other end of Foothill. Foothill's a huge, long road here in LA, and it goes from it touches Route 66. I believe it goes all the way from like Glendora out over to like Hansen Dam, which is like Sunland, like huge. There's 2 ends of Foothill. And if you like Foothill, it could be miles, you could be in like multiple cities apart from each other. So if you're like, oh, Hansen Dam off of Foothill, make sure you're at the west end going up toward the 210. on that end of the foothill, way, way, way up there. And don't even get off on Foothill, because Foothill goes up the Angeles Crest, which everyone's always talking about, the 2 and the Angeles Crest. That's also Foothill. Past that by like a couple cities, you want to make it all the way through the valley, keep going on the 210 all the way till you get into on the other side of the hill. And that's where Hansen Dam is. And that's going to be that's a lot of vintage bikes that show up there. So that's going to be a fun ride. And then November 6th through 9th, the Lone Star Rally happening in Galveston. Galveston, Texas. And also around November, it's going to be Motorcycle Live happening in Birmingham, England. And that's about all I can think out there. Babes, Two Wheel Babes is happening in Australia on September 12th through 14th. And then the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix, the 17th through 19th. And that concludes our events. If you got anything that's coming up, let me know. I know Don Leonhardt shot us out like a ton of things happening. I'm pretty sure I put them all in here. Most of them were the Chuck Walla track days and the Compact Octanes. The nice thing about Compact Octane, the reason they call it that, is because they promote like riding smaller bikes. You don't have to have a R1 to fit in there and ride around and all that fun jazz. So you just have to this is where you can like take your 400s and your 250s and your 600s and all that and feel right at home. Let me see what else we got going on. That's it. Let's get into our wait a minute. November 15th, Thunderhill West is a classic track day up at Thunderhill. I didn't put that one down. And October 8th through 9th, classic track day again. Geez, Brady's like all over October. And unless Don got these dates wrong, I might have got it wrong. So anyway, let's get past our events and get into what's looking creative this week. Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's throw in a stinger here, Tobor. All right. What's looking creative this week, folks? Man, I forgot that I made all these really cool songs. Thanks for reminding me, Tobor. This is like a ripoff of Rollin' and Tumblin', though, by... Mine's the R.L. Burn. I'm ripping off R.L. Burnside, who's ripping off Muddy Waters. So, yeah. I call this Funky Monks, though, because I think I made a song about a monkey that features this. Anyway, what's looking creative this week? Well, on last week's show, I wanted to remind you what I got to do in Torrance last weekend, which is now like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. What did I get to do in Torrance? Wow, I spent an amazing day down there in Torrance. Got invited to a place that stores motorcycles. Somebody happened to know and said, yeah, I got a friend down here. They have motorcycles at their house. They love motorcycles and all that stuff, airplanes, this sort of crazy thing. Let's go down there. And then they want to hang out, and who knows what's going to happen. Like, I just want to go see the motorbikes. And we're like, yeah, fine, cool, let's do it. We went down there, and there was a handful of motorbikes down there at the guy's place. And by a handful, I mean a little more than a handful. There was some really cool Yamahas, little, I'm going to guess like 175s or something like that. Just tiny parallel twins from the 70s, maybe the 60s. I'm guessing the 70s because Yamaha started in 63. So if it was a late 60s or early 70s bike. So there was a few Yamaha like old twin / like dirt bike kind of scrambler. I guess what you would call a dirt bike back in those days. And then there was like a Kawasaki H2 there, which is the 750 triple, not the 500 triple. I think the 500 was the H1. So there was a H2 there. These things were all like mint too, from the small one, from the little like 175 or whatever it was, to the Vincent. I think it was Vincent or Velocet. I should have taken pictures. One of the V's. It was a Vincent or a Velocet. It was they were all beautiful, just beautiful bikes, and a couple BSA Gold Star. Suzuki, early Suzuki, like not like the Ninja GPZ, but like a Suzuki like superbike from back in the superbike days before they were like technically sport bikes. What else was there? Why can't I think of what else was in there? Nothing past like 80 though. Like I would say 80 would be like the oldest bike in there was like a 1980, maybe 81, something like that. Beautiful though. Beautiful bikes. Awesome. So we're looking at the bikes. We were there for a few hours, and after a few hours, we're like, how many times can you look at these bikes? So we went around and looked at some of the planes, stuff like that, and just kind of hang out. Everybody's like, let's go see these other bikes. So finally, we get to go see the other bikes. We drove to the guy's house. We get to the guy's house. He makes us dinner. I'm complaining about this, right? Like me and the guy I went with, we're kind of complaining about sitting around and eating dinner and drinking beer and being invited to talk and shoot the shit because we literally just wanted to see some motorcycles and get the fuck back home. Torrance is not close to where I live. It was like an hour away driving, and I drove so we could ride together. And yeah, it was about an hour home. So we got an hour drive ahead of us. And so the later it got, we're like, where are these bikes? So we ended up going, eating dinner, getting a free dinner, getting beer, getting to hang out and chat about all this stuff. To say it wasn't fun, it would be stupid. It was totally fun. And I didn't know anybody there except one person. Everybody invited me in. It was great. All these guys are old school. I didn't ask everybody's age, but since I'm 136, I didn't bother to ask anybody how old they were, but these guys were probably in their 70s, 60s, and 50s, things like that. And they were just so cool. And they were like, listen, man, you got to come riding with us. You got to get a dirt bike. And I was like, holy crap. And these guys have been riding dirt bikes since dirt bikes, obviously they got some 60s, 125s and stuff in their garages. These guys have been riding dirt bikes since, the 70s probably, since dirt bikes were an actual thing. So got to hang out and do that. How much fun is it to just hang out with people that love motorcycles and, want to talk motorcycles all day, invite you over for free dinner to enjoy. Beautiful house, by the way. We could see the port. We could see where the Alta Sea motorcycle show is going to be. And I feel bad about complaining. Yes, Tobar, thank you for that wake-up call. I feel bad about complaining, but we really did want to see the bikes. And we're like joking when we first got there at like 2. I think we got there around 2. Or maybe, no, I think we got there at 3 at 3:30. And we were joking that we weren't going to get home till midnight. We really didn't get home till like 10:30, so we weren't far off. Because between the bullshitting and the actual doing of stuff, there's a huge time gap. So, long story short, after the free dinner and the free beer and the exploring this guy's cool house, went to his neighbor's house next door, and it's chock full of motorbikes. And this dude's British, and his buddy from England was in town. And inside of his house, he's got a Vincent Black Shadow. Dude, I love looking at that thing. The way Vincent Black Shadows work, by the way, the brakes on the front, I've never really looked at one in great detail. And having one right there that you could just stare at and just look at every single thing, how it works and looks. I mean, I've seen them at bike shows. But to have it in someone's living room that you can sit there and talk to him about it, and they're British. The dude's British, so he knows the history better than anyone else. Not that making you British makes you know the history, but it does, oddly enough. But yeah, so we were talking about it. Everything from the front suspension, like the rocker style front suspension, to the way the front brake works. It's got dual drums, which I never really looked at before, and it's got like a little rocker on the front for that. How the mechanism operates. So it was really cool. Turns out, what was this other bike that he had? It was a Sunbeam. And it was a... how do I describe this thing? It wasn't a rotary, but it looked like a rotary. It looked like the weird rotary engine from like a RE5 or something. But the body looked like an old, Indian, sort of a really old, like World War II style Indian with a Springer seat. Well, it wasn't hardtail. It had like plunger shocks, but you know how those plunger shock frames, like the old BMWs had, were like they were like a rigid frame, and then the rear like axle. I guess this thing was probably shaft driven, and the rear like axle and everything would go up and down on these plunger shocks. So it was kind of like a rigid with like a swing arm that had a shock on it. It was kind of like that. And it was called a Sunbeam, and I don't know who the hell makes it. I just know that it was called a Sunbeam, and it had a gold like star emblem on it, similar to a BSA. So I'm gonna have to look up those. Maybe we'll have to do a history on one of these times. But really cool. Really cool bike. Not only that, but there's a Hayabusa that has been crashed. So not only does this guy have like, and it turns out that I think this guy is whose bikes we were looking at earlier when we were looking at the bikes that was mixed in with the airplanes. The Velocette, the old Norton. I think there was a Norton there. The old BSA. I know there was a BSA. It was probably a BSA and a Velocette. Or AJS, that's what it was. It was an AJS and a BSA, and then all those other like old H2s and all that jazz. All that stuff, I think that was this guy's, or is a mix of the two guys. But turns out this guy collects all these old British bikes because he's a British dude. But he also has sitting there a pretty sick Suzuki. Was it a Yamaha Vino or a Suzuki Bergman? I think he had one of those two. And it was in the full racing livery. That's why it was so funny to me, because it was in the full racing livery of like the MotoGP team or like the Alaman team or something like that. The crashed Hayabusa that he had sitting out there was the one that they had raced, I believe he said at like Macau or like the Suzuka 8 Hours. It was the first Hayabusa to enter an endurance race and win. So I think it was the Suzuka 8 Hours that it won. And it was like, this is an old 2000 something, like a 2001 Hayabusa or something like that. And it's like the very first road race that it won, or maybe the first like endurance race that Suzuki had won with the Hayabusa. This is the Hayabusa that did it. And so he ran. I asked him about it. I said, how long were you in the motorcycle industry? He said, I never was, which is kind of how it works out. Pardon me. I used to autocross with a guy who did off-road stuff too. And he worked at Macmillan Real Estate. And Macmillan, if you were like a big Baja 1000 guy or something like that, back in the day, Macmillan's had a huge score, trophy trucks and buggies and all that stuff. And yeah, they were not in the automotive industry, but they had a full-time race team and a full-time, almost a full-time employee that like managed the vehicles and procured parts and all. Because they were asking me about it when I used to work down there. Hey, would you want to do this full time? Like, they need a guy to do this, and I couldn't quit because making hand over fist money at a shop to go work for a private guy who could pay you what they can. It would have been awesome to do it, but even this guy ran an international race team, a couple international race teams. I think they had a couple different bikes, and I think they raced endurance series a lot. And he obviously still had a 9-to-5. So it's not, how do you make a small fortune racing? You start out with a large fortune. So it was just kind of cool to see this guy. He never was in the motorcycle industry, but ran some race teams. It was cool. He loved all, had so many motorcycles, from this Harley to, I think he had a Goldwing, so he wasn't like brand loyal, had all these cool old vintage British bikes. Opens up the garage, has a bunch of has a VFR. I think it was a 750. It was either that or the first year of the 800. He said it had the cam driven gear, so it wasn't the VTEC one yet. So I'm assuming it was the last year of the VFR 750, which I think was 99. And then he had a like I said, he had all this his other race bikes in there. He had a Ducati Panta in there. He had a couple of Yamaha and Suzuki fully kitted out race bikes. Had like another H2 or something. It's just incredible. This guy's house. I mean, he has them like art. I'm telling you, he had some in his house, all decorating the house. He had them in the backyard, his garage. Like you couldn't even walk through the garage because there was so many racing leathers and like bins of race parts and all these bikes in there. And to get the bikes out, you had to you had to get all the bikes out to get the first one that's at the back of the garage out. I mean, that's just insane. It's how my garage would honestly look if I was, if I didn't have my wife here as a regulator. We all need the wife here to give us the old, that's right. Or reasonable partner. Otherwise, your backyard would look like Chris Wiggins' house. And this guy's yard would look like Chris Wiggins if Chris Wiggins put all of his motorcycles in his garage rather than just leaving them out tipped over in his backyard. Just bikes everywhere. And I couldn't believe, the history of some of these bikes and the fact that he ran a race team. It was really a lot of fun. And, when I got home, my wife was like, how was it? I know you had fun. And I was like, yeah, I mean, to say it, that would be a lie to say it wasn't fun, even though we were like, where's the bikes? The whole time, even we were wondering where the bikes are. And it was just really cool to be able to experience that and meet some new motorcycle people. So now I got them in my wheelhouse, and I will be happy to go down there. So that's what was looking creative to me this week, was really just seeing a bunch of motorbikes. There's always some really cool, fun, creative stuff to see. But man, seeing this guy's inspiring house, I don't know. When you walk through someone's house and they have a motorcycle in the living room, it's a little bit inspiring and it's very creative. So that's that for me. Bike updates. I'm going to skip bike updates because me and Pete from Nokomoto were in a battle. He heard that on last week's show, I hadn't even opened the Speedo, or I hadn't installed it yet for the new Speedo I just got. And he said, I've had parts for about 3 hours now, and I've sexually violated all of them 14 times, and just took everything out of the box. He's like, it's disgusting that you have this thing sitting and you haven't opened it. And I said, oh, good sir, it will trouble you to know then that the same day that my Speedo came, or like maybe it was the day before that, I just installed the handlebars that I've had sitting here for months. So I'm in no rush. Why would I, I don't know what the big deal is. Sometimes you get something and you're like, do I really want to install these on this bike? Or you install them and you're like, oh, this is terrible. Like, I don't like the way it looks, whatever. So sometimes I like to ruminate and visualize things before I actually install them. Not the case with the Speedo, and not the case with the handlebars. I just also had to get around to get into it. So that's bike updates. Also, nothing really has been happening. It's been so damn hot out here. I just been coming in to like open the garage to make sure that I don't melt anything in here. I'm sure some of my supplies are going bad, just like it did a couple years ago when it got 118 out here. It hasn't been that hot, but it ruined half of my most of my casting, my resin casting stuff got ruined, and some of my fiberglass stuff got ruined. It just like literally boiled in the containers. So I've been coming in here and cracking the door and get some air, make sure that the as the temps heat up and the gas evaporates, it doesn't just fill up my garage and then it blows up, because it's 142 in here and you need fuel, air, and heat, and it's got all those things in here. So I was like, I need to get the gas, get any vapors out of here. So I have been coming out. I just haven't come out to work on anything in this last week since it's been so hot. Not without one of these delicious Kirkland dollar lagers. Now I'll be out here every night. Let me take a sip, actually. Speaking to that, instead of bike updates, since I don't really have any, let's do some listener emails. We did get some emails. I don't know if I talked about this one, but I just mentioned that I was thinking about Matt and Paul, like on the last episode with me and Dawson. And Matt wrote us. And I don't know if I read, when is this one from? May. I don't know if I read his email back in May. I'm 100% sure I did, because I always try to read these. But he said that he's been following along with the progress on the FC. So if this is an old email, fast forward about, I don't know, a minute and a half. I'll try not to talk too long about it so that you have to fast forward 20 minutes and I'm still talking about it. So just fast forward a minute and a half right now. All right, everybody. My social security number and bank. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, he said he's been following all at the FZ, and he has been interested in composites, which I think I was talking about making fiberglass way back then. And he'd like to try some fiberglass, practice laying up his own carbon one of these days, which would be awesome. And I must have read this. Right there, minute and a half is coming to an end, so we better hurry. He's been working on his Ruckus, digging into scooter life now, and he was working at a dealership, got a job at a dealership. Well, now he just wrote in again. All right, everybody, if you're just joining us back from skipping ahead a minute and a half, here's our updated message from Matt. He says, heard your shout out from the three-wheeler episode a couple weeks ago. That's right. And this is still, every episode from Creative Writing now on is about three-wheelers. And so get used to it. And he said he's been thinking about dropping a line, so it works out. And he's sent us a little missive. He's had a busy summer. At the start of the summer, he quit the job at Cycle Gear after a year and 9 months to try my hand as a parts guy at a local Honda dealer. And he says it was only 20 minutes away from the house versus the hour that Cycle Gear was, which could be great. That's awesome, especially if you're getting paid the same or you're saving on gas and you actually like feel like you're getting a raise almost, you know what I'm saying? And so the parts knowledge and the people I worked with, but he didn't stick around too long. So now he only worked there for a little bit of time and he is out. So he's already looking for, or he's already quit and he is moved on to greener pastures. He was in Japan for a couple weeks with the family who was, he joined the family there. So they had a really good time. Not much bike-related stuff, but it was good to get back there. And I wanted to call... I was thinking about this after I read his email. I want to call Japan out. I've watched a lot of NHK World, and I see how slow you have to drive in Japan. And I see the things that people do in Japan. It's interesting, but interesting. And I think he touched on it last time we talked. I don't know if I'd like to go to Japan to ride motorcycles, actually. He's been chilling and thinking of what to do next. Hasn't been riding much. Combination of the hot, humid weather and a bit of the burnout from the dealership. I get it. When you work, you're like, oh, I'm going to work in the motorcycle industry. It's going to be great. And I think Cleveland Moto talks about this. And I think that Wingman's Garage used to talk about this. And there's a few other motorcycle podcasts that used to be around that were also dealers, and they're like, listen, do you think you're going to own a motorcycle dealership or work at one and just be awesome? And what happens is you start working there, and guess when you work on the fucking weekends, and so you never get to go out and go riding. You never, you're around the shit all the time. You see the bummer side of things. You know what I'm saying? Like when I worked in the car industry, it was great to work on my own car when I got the chance. And it's nice that I could leave it there overnight and drive the shop car home. I could, because I was a shop guy, but there was like the techs and stuff. They didn't have that opportunity. So there were certain things that are awesome. And then other times you're like, but now you just see the bad side of things, right? So repair is awesome, except for that you have to do it every day, So it's fun. It's fun if it's just a hobby and you get a wrench on stuff on the weekend. But if that's your bread and butter, you kind of think a little differently about it. So I 100% get it, Matt. And he says he's getting back into electronics projects, robots. Ooh, Tobor's ears just perked up. Tobor, you don't even have ears. Don't look at me like that. It's a saying. I am sorry. I didn't mean your horns wiggled. So he's getting back into computers, electronics, and projects, and he might even get his ham radio license. That's one thing that's awesome. I used to whip out my CB and I could hear ham radio operators from like Hawaii and shit. There's nowhere they're going to hear me. CBs go a couple miles, right? But you could pick up these ham operators, and it was so cool thinking about a guy sitting in his ham shack talking to people halfway around the world. And if a zombie apocalypse really does ever happen, there's plenty of podcasts that have talked about what would the perfect apocalypse bike be? What would the perfect, apocalypse build be? None of them talk about the necessities like ham. How the fuck are you going to communicate? Ham radio, it would be one way. As long as you can get a little generator, even a solar one or something, ham radio operator would be one thing to awesome to have. So anyways, so that was Matt. He checked in with us. Thank you so much, Matt. And we will try to touch base with you. And I'm glad your summer is being busy, even though you got out of work. And hell, I can't wait to do that. I think I said this last time. Rob dropped us a article about trikes and the merits of trikes. I think I touched on that on last episode, but I didn't tell you that I read the article, and it was just so AI. It was obviously written by AI, and Rob was laughing about the illustrations in this article, and I was looking at them, and oh my God, everything is AI about this. So yeah, yippee. So thank you for the missives, everybody. And then Johnny Roundtree also checked in and is saying, hey, what's with the, let me see, what did he say? I think he was talking about Don's word of the week last week being writing. Yeah. As if it couldn't be more difficult, but I don't think I ever said it. I don't think I ever said writing last week. I think that was the word of the week. And after I said, welcome to creative writing and made the word official, I never said it again. Anyways, let's move on. Next in our notes, Sobor is the main segment here. So let's get into the beef and potatoes, the cakes, and this may be a little bit longer than an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Let's get into this final segment here. We could talk about what we're doing wrong. All right, everybody. Let's hit the home stretch here. Tobor, are you ready for this? He is, he says. He's nodding his beautiful, gangly, robotic head. It's not gangly. I was just kidding, Tobor. Yeah, so what are we doing wrong? I had AI help me with this, so I hope you guys don't think I am a clanker. I know, Tobor, I'm sorry. I didn't say it with a hard R, did I? Clanker? I did. Okay. Hey, we're not going to be prejudiced against robots on this show or AI. I used AI, even though the thing I got back was pretty garbage. I was like, hey, what are some help me? Here's my ideas. Help me make an outline so I don't have to sit here and type for 52 days to make, a 20-minute segment. And it's like, okay, I'll help you with that. So I didn't mind using it for that. I mean, it's not like I told AI to generate me an image and it gave me two old people on a bike or on a trike with no feet or something. I just asked it to take my ideas and put in a thoughtful outline. God. So let's get into it. This is the main segment. This is the problems that we create for ourselves. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is the rider community and its unspoken rules. So, AI suggested that I discuss the culture within the motorcycling community, and I thought, well, that's a perfect way to start. Perfect place to start, because that's where half the problems start, is with the community itself. Reddit, if you go to Reddit, Reddit has so many sub-communities that you can go to there. Subreddits, what they're called. Little communities. It's not quite like forums, but it might as well be. Chock full of some really helpful, but also like Reddit is also, the internet anywhere is basically where the trolls go to live. So I go there half the time just to troll people myself, because I think it's funny to laugh at other people's expense, and I enjoy Schadenfreude and all that fun jazz. So I do enjoy Reddit, and but dude, it is full of idiots. And if you go to the motorcycle subreddit, which I subscribe to, motorcycles, and I think there's one just motorcycle. It's like one of the biggest ones, and it's full of idiots talking about how they should ride, like asking advice on how to ride in a straight line. And it depresses me that the motorcycle community is full of people who seem like they'd ask you if it's okay how they signed your birthday card. Like, hey, did I sign your birthday card all right? Dude, it's you doing something. Why do you need my advice? And that's half of the problem with the motorcycle industry, I believe, is that sure, we're supposed to come together as a community, but when your bike won't start and people are telling you to rebuild the crank and that you've got this and that, and it's obviously a fucking dead battery and you don't know anything about battery tenders, I feel like an old man saying this, because of course you're going to go to the internet. Anytime something happens to me, I actually go to YouTube or something else to see, why is my I don't know anything about irrigation systems. So if my sprinklers are all fucked up, I go to the YouTube and say, hey, why is my sprinkler doing this symptom? And it'll pop up 18 videos how to fix it. So I mean, I get it. I totally get going to the internet, but the motorcycles community on Reddit is just killing me. And people are even like, dude, this sub, like, oh my God, like my bike won't turn on. What's wrong with it? And it's like in gear, the kickstand's down. They're, I don't know why it won't start, and the clutch isn't pulled in, whatever. It's like, come on, dude, read the manual. 90% of the stuff in the R motorcycles too is like, oh, I almost died today. And it's a guy going straight and a car turned left 90 miles in front of them. And they're like, oh my God, I almost got killed. And it's like, you didn't almost get killed, bro. You were not even close. I don't know. It's fun. It's full of funny shit like that. And that's part of the thing that's wrong, not wrong, but, that's one of the crazy things is that you go to a forum like that and people are just asking the most ridiculous stuff. Hey, does this sound fine? Does my bike sound weird? No, it sounds like normal. If you just explore your bike, I crashed. Oh my God, I crashed. And they like literally just soft laid it over in a parking lot because their foot slipped or something. You didn't crash, you know what I'm saying? And oh my God, am I going to have to replace my bike now? Are they going to total it? Dude, you set it down slowly in a parking lot. Like, you shouldn't even be on the internet right now. If you're that scared, you should be talking to your dealer. Why are you asking all these idiots on the internet for advice when you should just go to your dealer if you're worried about it, And honestly, the dudes that are in Team Calamari, they're doing wheelies and crashing at like 160 miles an hour. And they're like, oh, good, my bike still runs. Now I can get home. Like, you have these two opposite ends of the spectrum. That's what I enjoy about the motorcycle community. But it's also just a weird place to be. And then everywhere in between. Also, what's wrong with the motorcycling culture and community is that's the thing. Depending on where you're at, there's a culture. In the UK, I'm sure the culture is completely different than here in the States and in Australia and in Central Europe, Africa. I'm sure, and maybe even all the countries in North Africa versus South Africa and in between. Like, maybe the world is a big place with a lot of different countries, and even within those countries, different cultures. And so, I don't know. It seems to me like that's more of what you should tune into, and giving somebody advice one place and not the other, and the laws. Let's just not even get into the laws, but the culture itself and the motorcycling community, you should be local. You should make it your own. And this is something I was going to bring up when I was mentioning the events earlier. I haven't mentioned Mama Tried or Flat Out Friday or anything like that because they're not happening until next year. And I mean, technically, we are still in summer here, and they're not happening until like February. But listen, Flat Out Friday, I remember when it started to happen everywhere. Like, every Friday was Flat Out Friday. What happened to the Super Bowl if it was every weekend? It's not the Super Bowl anymore then, or the World Series, or the Cricket World Series, or FIFA World Cup. If it happens every other month, it's not the World Cup anymore. It's not a playoff. It's not a world championship. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like your moto community and your local moto stuff should be how that stuff is. And talking to some people about the Hand-Built show coming to Los Angeles, they're like, why is Austin come to Los Angeles? Los Angeles already has Los Angeles. We have Born Free. That's not in Los Angeles, and that's in OC, but it's like an hour south of here. We also had the Outliers show, which was great. And we also have a couple shows that kick off here in LA already. LA is like, we got it. Now that IMS is gone, everyone's trying to fill this gap, but they're coming all over. The one show happening in Vegas, it was cool, but what would be cooler than going to Portland to see the one show? The World's Fair traveled around, and I get it, but Mardi Gras in New Orleans only happens in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what happens in other cities around the world. I'm totally ignorant to this stuff. Like, Krampusnacht probably does not happen in Italy. It only happens like someplace in Austria or Bulgaria. I don't know where the hell Krampusnacht, maybe Germany. I'm just saying there's places where things happen, and that is kind of like, that should be your motorcycle community, and that should be who you ask questions of, and this and that. Also, what's up with the culture and the motorcycle community is that, and I'm not saying it shouldn't expand out and get broader, but like Mid-Ohio, Vintage Days at Mid-Ohio, I've noticed how that's been growing and growing and growing. And that's awesome because people are going there to do it, and people are meeting each other there and growing a big family there. And I see it in the Discords that are going on that we're part of. Several different podcasts coming together to talk about stuff there, and it's awesome, right? That doesn't mean we're going to try to move Mid-Ohio to Road Atlanta, or that we're going to try and move it to Virginia or out to out here to Laguna Seca. It's always going to be in that spot. So that's what makes it special, right? And so I'm not saying that you can't grow the community. I'm just saying like that local thing should be that local thing, and it should make you as a motorcyclist happy that you have it and want to do your own thing in your own place. Maybe. I guess I'm allergic to motorcycle dialogue. But anyway, another thing about the culture of the motorcycling community, and this is kind of why I brought up the worldwide thing, and I'm kind of bringing up this where you are, is because here in the States, there's been a lot of people posting, and this probably is like more of one of those things where like it's like kidnapping. It probably happens a lot more on a video than it does in real life, and it's because 95 of the same video. When something's like when you see if you ever see a stunt happen, boom, or a trending meme or anything like that, that's 85 billion people looking at the one thing, and they're not looking at the 85 billion fingers pointing back at themselves, not doing that one thing. So I feel like this could be just a meme right now, but the Harley bros that won't let people pass them, although I have seen multiple videos on the internet, let's just say I've even seen 20, there's 20 cajillion motorcycle videos out there where people aren't doing that, right? So it might just be a small percentage, but I feel like it's enough that where people are posting a lot and you're seeing it a lot more. But Harley bros, or even like, I don't know if they're all Harley bros, maybe there's club bros that won't let people pass them. And it seems like guys in clubs or guys in Harleys used to just be cool and avoid the cops and look at titties all day. And now with like all this ultra hyper masculinity. Some people will say toxic masculinity. I'm not going to go that far, but I'm just going to say like all these things I see about, hey, real men don't look at porn, and real men, to be an alpha male, you do this and that. I guess if that includes not letting vehicles pass you until you're in the back of an ambulance because you smashed into the back of a car trying to block lanes. I've seen so many videos of people acting like assholes to other motorcyclists because they were on a Harley, or they perceived that they were the leader of them and this stranger that pulled up next to him. You're not the leader of a stranger, okay? Like, I don't know. I don't even know if your guys are going to the same area, but I've even seen it with stunt rides. This dude on a dirt bike, I think I saw, was doing like a wheelie next to some dudes doing like a ride on sport bikes. And obviously he wasn't with the group. Maybe he was bike cruisers. I don't know. But I just remember they were like trying to run him off the road and shit. And he just jumped the median on his dirt bike and went down into a ditch and went back up on the other side into this road that was separated by this huge grass ditch. And since he's on a dirt bike, he totally did it. And it's like, yeah, why are you trying to run people off? And he was just doing wheelies past him and stuff. Like, fuck you guys. You're not going to tell me what to do. But I've seen a lot of that. And that's something that's wrong with the culture, is that you don't run the culture, okay? You don't own the road. You don't run the culture. And I can't tell you how many real men I've seen out there, alpha males, and they're not letting people pass. Well, you're getting passed as soon as you're in the back of that ambulance, right? Because you're an idiot. So that kind of transitions into the attitudes and behaviors of experienced riders. And so this is the little suggestion it's telling me is sometimes amplified by the media, how that can be off-putting to newcomers. I'm going to say two names here. Yami Noob and Max Wrist. Need I say enough? Need I say more? I think that's enough. Two of the biggest fucking idiots out there. I I really am upset with Yaminu. He bought a Janus, and then all I could do is shit talk it. And I was like, bro, you shouldn't shit talk a bike. You don't understand the tech, and the tech is very low on a Janus. Trust me. Janus is like, their whole thing is like 1920s technology, right? And it was fun watching him shit talk it. And I know Doodle on a motorcycle just crashed her Janus too. I think it's already been like 100 days ago because I think she just had a video like 100 days later, I'm not riding. So she crashed one earlier this year. And now Yami Noob's got one. And he's the last guy you want to listen to for advice. Sure, he goes to the track. Sure, so does Max Wrist. And they're two of the, the biggest clickbait, influencers out there. If people are still watching these guys and getting their motorcycle culture information from these guys, like, dude, enough said. You're doing it wrong already. Also, the concept of a real rider and how it's going to exclude people who start with less powerful bikes or don't fit a particular mold. Of course, that's something also that, like, a real rider, there's no such thing as that either. There are people that ride dirt bikes on the weekends that work construction all day. And then there's dudes that are in like legit clubs that all they do is ride in straight lines from one event to the next. And maybe they don't even party. Maybe they're like Christian bikers, but they just ride from one event to the next, maybe two up, maybe they put a lot of miles. Once they hit dirt, they eat shit, or once they, if you put them on a dirt bike, they'd be no way. Or they do both. Like, there's no such thing as a real rider because you do one thing or the other. And I'm not saying you're not a real rider if you can't go hit the Erzberg and get up the hill climb out of the quarry, the bottom, very bottom, the first obstacle of the quarry where you ride across the flat and go up that hill. What if you couldn't go at it? What if that was a test to be a real rider? What, I'm going to ride Harleys my whole life. Or I'm going to ride, my Valkyrie across the country. Well, then you don't need to know how to ride that, right? So there's no real, this real rider, the exclusionary gatekeeping stuff. That's our problem. That's the things that motorcyclists do to each other, right? Along with all this other stuff that I just said in the first thing. So that's the lack of, even the perceived lack of acceptance is going to make it harder. It's going to be gatekeeping for no reason. Like I said, Harley bros don't own the roads. They don't own the culture. As a dirt biker, you don't own the roads or the culture. You may think that somebody's riding style is lame. When I first got into riding or like kind of introduced to motorcycles, half the guys were dirt bikers and they were laughing at the guys at the shop that rode street bikes. And the street bike guys were like, dude, you guys do like, you guys don't even know what speed is. But then they like got together and did a little dirt and street together. And they're like, yeah, this is amazing. Like we're stupid for like clicking up like that. It's the Ford and Chevy guys pissing on each other's own wieners. And when you come together and you just enjoy, motorcycling or trucks or whatever it may be, it's awesome. There's no gatekeeping and no barrier to entry. Let's move on to a second idea here. And Tobor, should we do like a little stingy McBingy for every little new segment we do? Thank you, my good man. Yeah, I feel like it's like maybe not 100% necessary, but it does help break it up. And they can tell we're hitting a new idea. So the second thing here is the idea of a beginner bike and licensing challenges. Now, if you're listening to me from another part of the world where you have tiered licensing and all you assholes in the USA who talk about how great tiered licensing is, even though you've never had it here in the States, to my knowledge at least, I don't think that is beginner bikes, licensing challenges, things like that. The concept of a beginner bike, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the show where I said, hey, if you learn to ride horses, there's no beginner horse. If you're an adult and you're going to start riding horses today, they don't put you on a little tiny pony. They put you on a horse. And if you're a kid that's going to get into riding, you might have a pony when you're little, or you might have a little Shetland pony when you're little. But if you're going to get into barrel racing and stuff, or like cattle herding, they don't put you on, just because you're a kid, they don't put you on a little horse and say, get out there with the cattle that are like twice the size of this horse. They put you on a horse. And you go and you do the thing. Watch a bunch of little kids. There's little girls that barrel race and little boys that rope. And they're on big horses. I mean, they're not like Percherons or thoroughbreds, but they're like full-size horses, So the same thing. McDonald's worker too. There's no like hey, we're gonna put you on. We're gonna put you at a. There's expectations when you start working at McDonald's. There's no like starter menu. Like, hey, we're gonna do this and that. And your training is doing the actual job usually. You know what I'm saying? So, beginner bikes. This concept of beginner bikes, I think it's garbage. The one thing I would say that as a beginner bike, that should be the bike that you begin with. I don't think it should be limited to a size or a horsepower. I think it should be a bike that you're not scared to crash. So maybe a beginner bike, regardless of if it's 1,000 cc's or a 250, should be something that you're not going to be broken up about when you eat shit and fall over. And that goes for when you switch. If I were going from street right now to dirt, I would not want to go out personally and get like a CRF, 450R WE, like Works Edition, or some KTM that I know could like take on Erzberg Rodeo. I want to go get some clapped out piece of crap that I can drop 82 times, especially if I'm trying to learn to wheelie or like jump logs, and not something I'm going to like some two-stroke I'm going to worry about bashing the pipe on, right? So it's just common sense should dictate what a beginner bike is. And if you've never ridden before, if you've never driven before, are you going to go out and get a Lamborghini? Like, would be really stupid. Lamborghinis seem like to me that they would be like an enthusiast car. And if you really like speed and style, and like you probably would work your way into that, So I don't know. That's, to me, beginner bike means literally that, something that you're going to begin on. I don't think it should be a beginner bike should get tacked onto small bikes, especially if you're a small person. Like I was going back to the horse thing. If you're learning to ride a horse this weekend and you're like 36 years old, do you think they're going to put you on a miniature horse or a Shetland pony? No. And if you're a kid, though, they might put you on a smaller horse or like a larger pony, but you're usually not on like a tiny little horse, riding around either if you're a little kid, So it's a dumb idea to me, the beginner bike. The approach to learning motorcycling and how people learn other activities such as flying aircraft, learning on a standard trainer, riding horses, learning on full-sized animals, driving cars, learning on standard vehicles, that sort of stuff to me should be the same sort of approach. You should come in with a clear theory and come in like with some clear aspects of how to do it safely. Do hazards when a lot of time when you take your driver's test, they're teaching you the laws, and they're teaching you the basically just the laws. Are they teaching you how to avoid accidents? There might be a page or two in there. Are they teaching you how to get yourself out of a crashed car if you have a rollover? No. Like, are they teaching you how to avoid somebody that pulls out from a stop sign or runs a stop sign? No. They're telling you stop at stop signs. You don't turn left on a red light in the United States in most places unless it's a one-way street. You can't turn left on red. I'm guessing like Europe and Australia and Japan and places where we would be able to turn right on a red, you can turn left on red. But stuff like that is what they're teaching you, right? So there's a distinction on what you should be learning. The fear that's associated with powerful motorcycles, whether it's inherent or influenced by cultural and personal anecdotes, I think that it's a real thing. And I think it's something that people preach. I don't think it should be a consideration. And it's the whole reason why I think Harleys, like 883s, even though they weigh like 500 pounds or something like that, like well over 500 pounds, you could ride them as a starter bike because the power to weight ratio in some places that was your quote beginner bike was an 883, right? They weigh 530 something pounds or 540 pounds, and it's because the power to weight ratio. You're letting me ride this quarter ton thing around. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So the fear and the anecdotal stuff, you got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to take it like any other anecdote. It shouldn't matter. If you're a little kid, are you going to get on that bike? No. If you're a big guy, are you going to get on a 110 or a 125 and ride it around? Unfortunately, in some countries you are. And you're going to be able to do 23 miles an hour at top speed uphill. When you're going uphill, you might even have to take your feet off and push it. And that's very unfortunate because that's no way to get around town for your first year or whatever it is that you have to like ride motorcycles around, right? Or ride scooters or 125s, whatever they are. Thank God that's probably not the key. You're probably going, what is he talking about? I can do fine on my 125. I ride 50 miles an hour around town. Perfect. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that 125s are powerful enough to propel a decent sized human at a rate of speed where you're not going to get ran over. Because here in the States, if obviously you wouldn't be able to take that on the freeway. And even some boulevards around here, people are doing like 50 and 60 miles an hour when it's really only supposed to be 35 and 40 because, they're in a cage full of pillows if they crash. So you'd get ran over if you could at 50 miles an hour, you're just doing the speed limit of what everybody's doing. So yeah, I don't think tiered licensing is necessarily the right answer for every place. It seems to do fine, and it's great for the motorcycle industry because then you're always buying up every few years. But some people do that already. Some people just have the money to, or like my wife, she likes to move around. I could live in one place for like the rest of my life if it was comfy and I liked it. And actually, really, honestly, yeah, I could just decide to stay somewhere. She wants to constantly move. I like to be one place and sure go on vacations and move around, but I could be stuck with something. But there are just those type of people that don't like to do that, and so they're the type of people that's always going to be getting new cars, new bikes, whatever it is, So there's always going to be somebody that the motorcycle industry loves and somebody that they hate. And I'm the type of dude that'll buy your old clapped out shit when you're done with it, for cheap. I'm a cheap guy. So what do? I wait for everybody to get the new thing and get rid of their old thing for a cheap price. So I'm the guy that's keeping this stuff from going in the landfill, I guess, and to the wrecking yard. Cause I'll try to fix any old hunk of junk. Right. So there's both people, and I'm buying parts and stuff in the long run, and tires and oil and gas. So, I mean, we're both kind of keeping the motorcycle industry alive, but I don't think that there should be that progression, and always have to be buying it up. Maybe you find the bike that you love right out of the gate and you just want to own that bike for the rest of your life. You shouldn't have to buy a 125 first and then have to wait to buy that, in my opinion. Tiered licensing in some regions, it's complexity for new riders. You heard Matt talk about it when he was in Japan. You could only do certain things, and being in the military, you had to wear full gear, even if you're riding around on a 50cc, moped that only goes 20 miles an hour in your full Dainese suit. That's got to look pretty awesome. The specific intro model upgrade, it might be more of like a market construct than a natural learning path. And it is definitely a way for motorcycle OEMs to market their bikes. Hey, this is learner friendly. Listen, man, I'm not about it, but I also get it that my argument is not to have to start on a specific model, but I get how that it works both ways, and it's not necessarily a bad thing for the motorcycle industry if you have to keep buying up, right? So let's do another little stingy here. Okay, let me just do it. I'm gonna do the music. All right. That was awful. We should just put music there, Tobor, but too late. We are on to the motorcycle industry's contribution to all of this good stuff, and we're going to try to wrap it up pretty quick. This is really the last point here. There's two more points that I wanted to make. The motorcycle industry's contribution is kind of hard because when you discuss the role that they play in the current situation. What's the current situation? Getting new riders in. Motorcycle industry has been trying to get e-bikes in. Well, now e-bikes are becoming illegal, and it's not the industry's fault, and it's not the manufacturer's fault. It's the kids that are riding them. And I was talking to Brady about this too, and we were saying, when we were kids, like there's mini bikes all over the news right now. It's kind of a hot thing. They're crashing into cars. They're speeding on the freeway. People are getting arrested on mini bikes. They're going to make mini bikes illegal pretty soon, which fucking sucks because I really wanted to get my kids into mini bikes, and I wanted to go do some mini bike stuff. And we were just talking about how there's a bunch of mini bike stuff getting closed down. Also, events are quitting happening and things like that. It's just too hard to do it legit. And there's not really a place for people to gather and do mini bike stuff unless it is the streets, right? So that's another thing that gets hard, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But that's not the industry's fault. That's just their contribution is that they have been trying to get people in by bringing mountain bikes and Surons and things like that into the motorcycle dealerships. And then Harley and Indian partnered with Stasic, and I forget who, maybe Indian partnered with Stasic as well, to make these little kids like branded Harleys and branded Indian Scout little push bikes, right, for kids. Kawasaki has the Electrode, 2 different models of bikes for kids that are electric push bikes. And then, of course, Yamaha and everybody else, and Ducati, I think, even has electric mountain bikes and street bikes and stuff like that. So people have been trying, the industry has been trying to cross that line, get people in. They're selling side-by-sides and shit. You know, they're doing everything they can to make a buck. And if they're just a motorcycle dealership, that's going to hurt them. And they're relying more on like service at this point, service and gear, you know what I'm saying? And with all these PFAS laws going into effect everywhere, that's going to be troubling. So the industry, what's their contribution to the motorcycle culture, I guess, and getting new riders? It's really hard for them, I think, and they need our help to do that. The potential conflict between the intro models and the riders and the high performance, the aspirational bikes that's featured in marketing, that can be, I mean, their marketing can say something, but at the same time, they're just showing you the bike. They're not making the rules of who can ride it and who can't. As a matter of fact, they're probably lobbying to be able to make more people. I know here in the States, the AMA lobbies to make bikes available to more people. They were trying to make dirt bikes illegal for little kids to ride because of the lead here in California. And they're like, dude, what little kid is licking the lead inside the exhaust pipe of the bike? Like, the stupidest ruling ever. And they're like, yeah, you know, you're right. Common sense. So I'm thankful that California had some common sense and overturned that. And you can get little kids into biking nowadays. So the industry's marketing and advertising perpetuates certain images of riders that could be intimidating to beginners. So what? Your little kid sees a guy batting a home run, wants to become a baseball player. Your kid sees a guy kicking a goal, wants to become a soccer player. Your kid sees, watches Maverick Top Gun with you or something and wants to become a jet fighter. That doesn't mean that there's not a beginning place, right? And you know how hard it is to actually become one of those guys on TV that's scoring the goal, making the basket, hitting the home run. It's fucking hard, right? And your kids will learn that once they start playing sports, and they realize why only like 0.001% of the population makes it to the pros, right? So the marketing that the industry perpetuates certain images that could be intimidating. Cry Me a River. I would have never given this a second thought until I visited our motorcycles. And those are some of the softest people I've ever read. and like, maybe senseless, I would say. But I mean, I guess those are the guys that need the help the most. It's just hard to go in there and read for more than like 5 minutes and be like, Jesus Christ, is this what motorcyclists are these days? Like, is this us? Like, don't read the manual or anything that you probably have like sitting on your bookshelf or you threw away. Don't do that. Ask an idiot on the internet and watch them tell you to rebuild your crank seals when it's like your dead battery, you stupid fool. Or like your bike's obviously out of gas. Or like I said earlier, you have the kickstand down, it's in gear, and you're not pulling the clutch in. There's 3 things right there that the bike's not going to start. So I would have never really given that the industry trying to mislead people through marketing. They're just trying to show you what the bike can do. If anything, motorcycles are trying to show you. I remember BMW a few years ago, I think it was the R9T, almost had nothing to do with the bike. And this really pissed a lot of people off. If you're having a motorcycle ad, shouldn't you be showing like the motorcycle doing motorcycle shit? No, they had people riding out to like a pool, an abandoned pool out somewhere in the wilderness, and then going swimming, having a good time, watching the sunset. They were showing you the things that this bike get you out to do with friends, and they were showing people hanging out, having a good time together. they weren't showing you anything about the bike or the capabilities. So it did kind of piss a lot of people off. They're like, hey, I want to see the bike doing stuff. So that's really, I mean, the marketing stuff, if it could be intimidating, I don't really care. They're showing you what the bike could do. Do you want to know what the bike can do, or do you want to basically watch a clothing ad that has a motorcycle in it, you know, or not even a clothing ad, it's almost like an American Eagle ad or something where everyone's just having a good time. It's like a perfume ad. Half the time it's like Johnny Depp or Leonardo DiCaprio talking about walking through the desert with a wolf. And you're like, what are you doing? Selling me a fragrance? All this other shit that makes zero sense what I'm seeing. So I don't care about that. The multi-tiered system of bikes might benefit the industry. We already talked about this a little bit, but from the industry's contribution side, it might benefit the industry financially by encouraging multiple purchases. But here's my caveat to that. If you have companies making $10,000 dirt bikes and or every bike in a particular OEM, Harley, or even Indian, or even BMW for that fact, every bike is a fucking premier model, then fuck right off. Because you know what you're doing? I remember when dirt bikes on sites used to be pretty cheap. The Motorcycle Industry Roundtable that happened about 10 years ago talked about that. And COVID spiked a lot of stuff. And so did the another spike we had, but in the wrong direction, was the 2008 when the financial crisis happened and motorcycle sales almost dropped off the map. That was a spike in the wrong direction. But if you look from like the 80s till today and make it like a trend line, it's always going up. So the prices of bikes are always going up a little bit, right? And sure, sales were influenced by, when gas got expensive back in like mid 2000s, right before the housing crash. Scooter sales went up because gas prices got so damn high. So you'll see spikes here and there, but dirt bikes being $10,000 and shit nowadays. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's prohibitive to get your kid into riding. To me, they should at least have something that's like half of that. And even that sounds expensive to what it was like 15 years ago, but I'm not going to complain about the price of gas being 33 cents in 1980. And now it's like, $5.30. I know inflation happens, and I know, it's 20 years later. So I'm not really going to argue about that, but at least $5,000 for a dirt bike, $10,000. Are you losing your ass on these bikes? Is there so much tech on motorcycles now that it costs that much? Can I just get a basic one like the Slate, that truck that's supposed to come out that's an EV, but it's like super basic? Can we do that? Can I get the Toyota Tercel with like a carburetor and roll up windows rather than power everything and fuel injection? Like, I'll pay less for that stuff, and that'll keep it viable for me and anybody that I want to get into biking. So that is one thing that the industry is influencing. And to bring it home, and so that we don't go too much longer, the challenges, the growth. What's the issues facing the growth of new riders? There's too many to mention probably, and depending on where you are in the world and where you are even in your riding community, you could probably think of 20 of them, and I'm not even going to say like one of them that affects where you are. So bear with me as I stumble through a little bit of this, but here's my thoughts. And even after talking to Pete today and arguing with him about what a shithead he is, having sexually violated all of his Lambretta parts, we did come to a conclusion that I wonder, because a lot of his parts said Ducati on him, like this, the coils and stuff like that, I think. And I was like, you know what? Ducati used to make radios that, and probably some other electronics for the planes or tanks or something, Axis Power shit. They were Italy in World War II. Japan, same thing. Denso, Mitsubishi. I mean, there's probably like 50 Japanese companies that are still around today that did shit for the war effort, got bombed to smithereens. So after the war, when the Ducati radio factory got bombed, because they were doing like all the radios for, I'm sure, the ships, the planes, the tanks, anything that required radio communication back in the 40s, they got bombed. And after that, they were like, shit, let's make some motorcycles. We need, just like Japan and how Honda started post-World War II, people needed cheap and inexpensive ways to get around all these bombed out cities. And bicycles with motors on them was the way to go. And it wouldn't have surprised me that if World War II hadn't happened, the need for small motorbikes to get around all these cities, the desire for like a brotherhood like you felt in the war, and a lot of motorcycle clubs like the Hells Angels and stuff like that, which got their name, I think, from like similarly to how they would name like the bomber brigades, like the Flying Tigers and stuff like that. And you got this sense of brotherhood, like all that stuff. Perfect storm to make motorcycling a huge thing here. And I think if we hadn't had World War II, sure, bicycles and all that stuff was happening pre-World War I, and they were replacing horses, which were still being used in World War I and to some part in World War II. But I don't think they would have taken off like they had. And I don't think that a lot of these companies that are still making electronics and stuff would, they obviously had their start before they made motorcycles, which is really interesting if you look at it that way. So the challenge is that we haven't had a world-defining thing like that got people back together and doing things together and like enjoying flying, for example. After World War II, the airborne squadrons were like born out of World War II. I don't think people jumped out of planes in World War I unless they were about to crash and they were 3 feet off the ground. If you jumped out of a plane in World War I, you're doing it wrong, right? So the feeling of flying and all that stuff and motorcycles perfectly emulates that, but on the ground, right? So I don't think that we would have had this crazy thing going on. So it's harder to get people into the motorcycling industry because that sense of freedom. You can get freedom in many different forms nowadays. And back then there wasn't, motorcycles was pretty close to it, Speaking of planes earlier in the episode, now you can learn to fly. You don't have to be it's way more accessible than it was way back in 1940 to learn how to fly. Man, woman, even kids. How many kids are doing solo flights these days? So, you couldn't do that in World War in the 40s. So I don't know. I think that there is just it's different. That the challenge is to get people involved relies on us, what we're doing wrong, how we're gatekeeping. The other thing is that there's a lot of closing of tracks. I've seen no less than, I saw Pennsylvania, I think it was Steel. I have it up here on my my web browser because I really thought it would be kind of cool to talk about it. Cecil Township is trying to close down the motorcycle track. I forget what the track's called, and but Cecil Township in Pennsylvania is closing down one of the, I think it was a motocross track. They got a cease and desist order, and the Steeltown Motocross. So yeah, they're trying to kind of get that taken care of, but more and more motocross tracks are closing. A lot of them have closed up in Northern California as rich people move out into the country to get away from the city. And now they're closing down all these, they're moving out to the redneck territory and gentrifying it. And they're closing down tracks because of noise mostly. So it's going to happen to road racing too. So that's another thing. Once you close the tracks, no more do you have dirt riding. You also now don't have street riding either once the road course is closed down. So it's a double-edged sword that way. Double-edged offensive weapon, I should say, because usually double-edged sword means, on this, if I do this thing, I'm screwed, and if I do that thing, I'm screwed. No. It's just a weapon taking out all motorcycle resources. So it's not double-edged. It's just a sword that's attacking the motorcycle industry. Not only that, but the recent public land sales and BLM reallotments and things like that, tariffs and inflation, those are just a few of the factors, and that's like just within this year. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that's happening this year. Over the past few years, we've seen insurance and litigation, accidents happening and people sue or shut down. Hell, Lake Elsinore motocross shut down because a little girl got killed. And I think the little girl's family is even like, I don't remember if I shouldn't speak on this because I do not remember if they were like, "Ooh, we understand it was an accident," or if they were pressing, for a lawsuit. But they closed down just because they don't want the liability. It's like, dude, let's not, And I wonder what Brady feels like every single damn track day when he does it without a hitch, or somebody's bike breaks down and they pull off track, or like, they fall and slide off track, but it doesn't cause, they don't get injured. So there's no need for the ambulance or anything like that. I bet on those weekends, he sleeps after those race weekends they close down the track for the last race. I bet you his blood pressure comes way down. So I couldn't imagine having a motocross track and just waiting for that kid to get, waiting. Like not if, but when is that kid going to get landed on by some other kid or something? So Lake Elsinore, historic track is closed for the time being. And I think they're trying to open it back up, but again, places that you don't think they're too big, these are too big to fail, or they've got a lot of liability and this and that, and they're fine. No place is too big to fail. And we're seeing them close all across the country, possibly all over the world. I don't know how it is in parts of Europe or England or Australia where they have this sort of stuff, but I don't imagine that anybody likes having the liability of a death. And then, in this litigious world these days, people suing, or trying to get some damages at least. So that's one of the factors. And those challenges also hurt bringing new people in, because why even get started in a sport that's going to be dead in like 5 years? You know what I'm saying? If that's how you feel about it, or like, I'm going to have my first crash and like, I'm not even going to ride again. Like we as riders have to help people get over those challenges, and we have to defend the lifestyle. And these are challenges that the OEMs and us are facing. So we have to kind of like get together, right, to help fight some of these causes. In summary, the problems from the industry, the rider community, regulatory factors, and all that stuff. I'm going to go back to this one: insurance. So many events. And so many, not even just tracks closing down, but events. A lot of moto rallies not happening, or road racing, like in Europe, a couple of years, like in not Europe, in Isle of Man, and so Ireland and England, and on Man, all those road races got affected a couple of years ago. I think it was right after COVID or during COVID, something like that. And it was probably because they didn't have a bunch of money coming in for like 2 years of no racing happening, that they were short on funds, and like, hey, we're going to underwrite this whole thing. And like, people are dying every year at Isle of Man. Like, how do you stop that from happening? You don't, right? There's no way to stop that from happening. And I think like the numbers are going down a little bit. Like, there's not every year that somebody dies, but it's going to happen. Like, you're racing at 200 miles an hour around an island with pieces that don't move, and air fences that don't exist, because they would mean you're riding on a track that's 3 feet wide. So, insurance is one part of it. Litigation is another part of it. Right now, I'm not including tariffs and inflation and all that stuff and the land sales, because that's specific to us, and that doesn't necessarily affect the global thing. The tariff thing does, but that's probably a temporary thing too. Tariffs can't last forever, or else everything will implode. So that's a temporary thing, and that will go away, but it is affecting stuff right now, right? So I'm just thinking, if you have any ideas of what we can do as a community, hit me up. Email the show, creativewritingpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up. Let us know how you feel about this episode and the problems that we're creating for ourselves. How do we fix these problems? I gave you a bunch of problems, and I told you I had no answers. I'm worse than Wiggins in this episode, and Tobor's not helping me out because he's in the sound booth snoozing right now. But think about your own potential influence on the culture, how to welcome new riders, and if you're one of those guys that's in a club and you're going to block the road and not let other bikers pass you, at least how are you getting other riders started? And the whole club thing I don't get. A lot of times clubs will say you have to ride a certain type of bike. You have to do this or that. So, they're already gatekeeping to a certain extent. And it's, there's already 20 hoops you have to jump through to even get in the club. And then there's other clubs. It's like, hey, whatever you ride, like a Checkers motorcycle club, they're an off-road club. So as long as you ride a dirt bike and you can ride off-road, you could be part of that club. And so, just different things. For you personally, How are you going to welcome, or how do you welcome new riders? How are you going to welcome new riders? What are you going to do for the motorcycle? I'm not going to say industry, but I am going to say like the culture and the lifestyle. Some of these challenges and problems that we have. What can you do to, I don't know, stop it and get them back in? Get more riders into the scene. Let's keep this thing going and growing instead of dying out, which is I'm afraid it's doing. And I know people were afraid of it 10 years ago, and some people are laughing, what fools, ha 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 ha. But listen, it's not impossible for an industry to collapse, especially if you have the mentality that it'll never collapse. People are always going to have motorcycles. People are always going to wear shoes until the day they don't. So, one day we'll all be sitting around in hover pods with floaty jelly life boots. Why did I say life boots? Floaty jelly, like puffy boots on, and nobody's going to want to do shit. It's going to be like Wall-E. Wall-E and Idiocracy are going to merge, and that's going to be a reality. So, yeah, I'm waiting for that day to come. Let's wrap it up here, everybody, and let me tell you about Solstice Slam real quick. This year's Solstice Slam, I think we only have one entry so far. It is to cosplay with your bike. What does that even mean? Dress your bike up, or you dress up with your bike. If you have a red and white Honda Trail 125, or even like a 125 Cub, or even like an old Bentley. An old Bentley would actually be the perfect model for it, or like one of the old I forget what they were, CB90, something like that. One of the ones that kind of looks like Pee Wee Herman's bike. Get a gray tuxedo with the red bow tie and get your little flat top on. Get a Pee Wee Herman wig. I don't care. Ride that thing around. Make it look like Pee Wee Herman. Dress up like the guy from Raising Arizona. Dress up like Street Hawk. Dress up like that episode of Battlestar Galactica where they rode TT 250s around with a bunch of cladding. Dude, you could put cardboard on your motorcycle and it'll look like that. Put cardboard all over your motorcycle and spray paint it red and it'll look like Akira. That is the theme of this year's Solstice Slam. Email your entries. You can DM us anywhere we're around. You can email slam@creative slam@creative-writing.com. I'll try to put that in the show notes, I guess, this week. But you can email us there. If you don't feel comfortable with that, email us to creativewriting podcast@gmail.com. I want a picture of you and your bike, or just your bike. If it's just your bike that's dressed up, I want to know what does your bike say to you? When you look at your bike, you're like, yeah, you look like this in a movie. Do you look like Daryl's bike from Walking Dead? Does your bike remind you of a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger just by itself sitting there? Does it remind you of a crab or a shrimp? Can you wrap your bike in fur and it looks like Falcor from the Neverending Story? I don't know. I'm just giving you some suggestions. It's not up to me. It's up to you. Cosplay your bike or cosplay with your bike, either one, and email the show. And we are going to wait. This one we're going to wait a while on. The next solstice is December 21st. It's a long ways away. I'm not going to wait that long, but I have been like sitting on a post and waiting to put some stuff out because I want to get the word out there plenty of weeks in advance of a deadline. So yeah, that's all you got to do to win glorious prizes, some stickers, and maybe something cool here or there. And that's our show, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this week. And all the show contact info is going to be in the show notes here, including the website, our Discord server for the parking lot, where you can find us on Instagram and Facebook, where you can check us out on Reddit. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/creative writing. We have a Zazzle store with some merch. I make 12 cents off of every t-shirt and mug that's sold on there. And one day I will own my own merch. It'll be my merch and I'll make some funny stuff. But check us out. Just check us out. Leave us a review. I read today, got a little behind the scenes podcaster news from Spotify, since we are on there, and it says they're going to be doing DMs in Spotify, so maybe you'll be able to DM us. But anyways, just have fun and get out there and ride. Hope it's not too hot, too rainy, too dusty, too on fire, whatever's happening in your slice of the world. I hope it's not too much for you to enjoy the ride. Get out there and ride. Hope it's not too hot to work on your bike. And next time we talk, Pete, I probably will have put my Speedo on. Probably. I was serious about opening that new micrometer that I got 2 years ago and measuring the dust on the top of the box of my Speedo first before I put it on the bike. I might do that. I might have to let it sit here for 3 or 4 more weeks to get a measurable amount of dust that a micrometer can read. How many microns deep is this dust? That's what I want to know. Then I might put it on my bike. I'm in no rush, Pete. I don't know what your problem is, but on next week's show, it depends on if Dawson and I get together. I may be doing some motorcycle trends. I've been doing a lot of research on that, trying to use AI to help me out. AI is pretty garbage. No, Tobor, I'm not saying clanker. I'm just saying AI is garbage, but I have been trying to use it to help me analyze stuff a little faster than me taking 5 weeks to like look through all this data, and then it's 5-week-old data. I'm trying to help it sort it out for me so I can quickly get some topics going for our shows and kind of wonder where this year's headed market-wise. Get a glimpse into next year. That's what I'm trying to predict. I need to know which bikes to buy now so I can flip them later. So we might be talking about that on the next show. If you have a wild and wacky adventure that you went on and it kind of didn't go how you thought it would go, email us that too, or get in touch with us and maybe we can set up some way for you to, send us a story, come on and talk about it. Dawson and I are working on that for our next show, so that's something as well. So, in the meantime, take it easy, peace, grease. Talk to you next week. Bye.